All right, I'm here.
Hey,
So, everyone, welcome to the show. I had to restart my computer. I don't know what it wanted to do, but it was not acting right. Today is Saturday, August 7th, 2021. Welcome to the Keeping It Real Conversation show with your host, Camila, aka Sunshine. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. Like and share. It again is the name of the show, Keeping It Real Conversations with Sunshine. If you want to be a sponsor to the show, please get in touch with me. We are live on Facebook right now. We are live on Groove Radio Detroit. We are live on Spotify. So, again, thank you for all your support. And most importantly, I believe in 6 degrees of separation. You're one person away, one advice away, one help away from where you need to be in your destiny. It has been proven over and over again since this show has started. I'm so excited. So today I have a friend who we went to Osborne together. Graduated top of our class in 1996, which was a great year.
that was a great year. Yes. 25 years ago.
Yes, I feel so old.
We're not getting old, we're getting better. That's all.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to welcome to the show Eboni Anderson.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Now, I'm trying to remember if we actually had classes together. Now, I know we were in passing, but I'm not sure. We might have had maybe one or two.
Maybe one or two, and I don't remember which ones, to be honest with you.
I don't either. All I know is you were part of the class, the elite class that came in 92. I said this before with Philip Doty when he was on, that they wanted to make Osborne become a magnet school. And so they put us all together, and we supposed to stay together all 4 years. We kind of sort of did, but the majority of the classes we all stayed together outside of our elect classes. So our class was one of the highest classes to graduate as well in 96. So we were all a part of that great class that graduated that year. So over that, did you go to Michigan State?
I did not go to Michigan State, but I ended up going to Wayne State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, please don't tell me you went to Michigan State. Please don't tell me.
No. I was offered.
Okay.
And it came close. It came close, but I decided not to go because I wanted to stay home with my mama.
Okay.
It really was. It came down to that decision. It was like, okay, I could go to University of Michigan, Michigan State University, or stay home and go to Wayne. And I was so attached to my mother that I didn't want to leave. Now, mind you, my daddy lived in Ann Arbor, so I could have easily went out there, lived with him, or maybe he lived on campus and, spent a lot of time with my father, but I just didn't want to leave my mama, honestly.
Okay.
And then I followed in her footsteps because she did take some courses. She didn't finish, she never finished college, but, as a single mom, it was tough. So she started out taking courses when she was in her early 20s. Well, I should say mid 20s because she had me around 26 or so, but she just couldn't keep it up. So I kind of wanted to pick up that cross, so to speak, and just pay homage to her since she had tried to go to school as a single mom. And like I say, with those two things considered, it just made sense for me to just stay home.
What was she going to school for?
She was into forensic psychology. She loved true crime. She used to actually work for the city of Detroit Police Department down at 1300 Bovian for 30 years.
Wow.
And she was a civilian, though. She wasn't a police officer. She started out as a fingerprint technician and then worked herself up that little ladder there and retired as a supervisor. But she was only 50. She was a young lady when she retired, and she enjoyed her life until she passed. She loved the idea of not having to do anything. I used to say, Mom, why don't you go back to school? Mom, why don't you, get yourself involved in some activities in the city? She's like, hell no, I don't want to do none of that. She's like, I'm good playing free cell and watching TV. So I was like, okay, can't do nothing about that. So she passed away as a happy woman, put it that way.
Okay. Also, I was looking up information about you, and on your page it had on there that you have 5 degrees.
I have 5, and the funny story is, some people say, well, what the heck is wrong with her? Is she an overachiever? Maybe a little bit. But to be honest with you, Camila, I was one of those indie students since high school, maybe going back to middle school days. I never quite knew what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be when I grow up. And so, I followed in the footsteps of my parents. Both were dedicated local government workers. My dad worked for the state of Michigan as an assistant payments worker until his early retirement. He had to take a retirement at an early age because of his health. But he got 14 years of seniority before he did that and continued to work after that. And then, like I said, my mom was my greatest model. So seeing her dedicated to her job, irrespective of the days that were hard, irrespective of the shift she worked, always knew, okay, well, then I get a state job and I work until retirement. Like, that's just the way life is supposed to be. It's stability, at least in my mind, I thought it was stability. It's, benefits and all these great things that you aspire to accomplish when you become an adult. But in the back of my head, though, I always knew that there was something else I needed to do. I just didn't know what. And I know I love helping people. I've always loved helping people. I'm a helper by nature, right? But I never knew how to channel that into an actual profession. So yeah, my very first job, my first real job with the state of Michigan was working in unemployment. And I had some hand in helping them, but sometimes there was nothing you could do. You know what I mean? It was more of a hands-off thing, especially when we moved out of our branch offices and didn't have face-to-face interaction. And then they moved us to call centers. There was only like 3 call centers, I think, in the state, total. So I really lost a connection with working with people. I mean, I had my colleagues, but it's not the same. And so all the while, I'm in school, and I guess I should probably go back to my undergrad years. I'm just taking classes, lots of liberal arts classes, English, film, things that I liked. And then obviously some prerequisite requirements. And I started as a pre-psychology major, again, trying to follow mama's footsteps. But I realized psychology wasn't for me. Like, I didn't like the coursework. It really didn't tap into my interests. And I didn't have a lot of mentoring growing up. And, it's not to knock anybody in my life who tried. Like, my parents tried. They, at the time, weren't educated, didn't know a whole lot about the higher education system. And so, like I say, my mom, like I said, she taken courses when I was a little girl, but by the time I reached 18, 19, she just didn't know how to give me that guidance. And so, again, not to knock them, they did the best they could with what they had, is what I say. And so I didn't have a lot of teachers, from K through 12 who kind of put me on the path to what, I may have wanted to do. So, story that I've been able to tell this week, I was a part of somebody's dissertation research and I participated in it. And she just said, tell me about what life was like growing up, right? And so since Dad lived in Ann Arbor, since I was about 4 or 5 years old, I would go time with him. And I can remember around the age of 6, he took me to the U of M campus and he, just walked me around and showed me all these old buildings, showed me the clock and told me stories about it. And then he said, Sugar, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And I'm just sitting there like, I'm 6, I'm just kind of like thinking of something off the cuff. I said, I want to be, I want to deliver babies. That's what I said. I said, I want to deliver babies. But again, not really having any clue as to what being a OBGYN meant. And so I lost sight of that. Like, I never even wanted to tap into the STEM fields. I mean, I enjoy science and I enjoy math, but not enough to feel truly inspired to go down a career path in those areas, because, you know, you have to have people who plant that seed, right? And it really wasn't planted in a way. I mean, I shouldn't say all of my teachers, but quite a few just did not look at this young Black girl, you know, in an urban area and see that she had the potential to be a physician or to go into, you know, any other STEM fields. And so that's kind of where life was for me. And so, like I say, once I reached that undergrad status, I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep taking courses. I know I want to graduate from college,
Right.
but I don't know what I want to be. And so I remember I had to declare a major. This was probably going into my junior year. And, you know, way back then, you know, you had to be on campus. You know, we were still registering. I think they transitioned from, you know, face-to-face registration to the phone registration, the Charter touch tone phone. Mm-hmm. But then I remember I got a letter in the mail and they said, well, you haven't declared a major. And I'm like, yes, I did. I said pre-psychology, even I don't like it. That's what I'm going to do. So the advisor said, no, a pre anything is not declaring your major. So I said, okay. So I go in to the academic advisor, have my mama with me. Like I say, I was truly a mama's girl in some ways, and I was a daddy's girl too. And so, you know, the advisor says, you have to pick something. So I'm just like, okay, well, secondary English education, you know, just something. And so he starts running down all this coursework I need. And it was like more courses that I would have needed, you know, that would have taken me past graduating 4 years. We're talking about another year and a half after, you know, when I anticipated my graduation. And so I said, okay. And as soon as we walked out of that office, I started crying my eyes out. I was like, Mom, I don't want to be here longer than this. I said, I can't do this. And so my mom said, well, why didn't you say something, Eboni? I'm like, oh, no. So she said, okay. So she said, we're going to use the catalog and we're going to try to figure out what fits the courses you've taken so that we can get you out in 4 years like you want. I said, okay. So the easier path for me was English. So I got a bachelor's in English for that reason. And once I graduated, I realized there ain't much you can do with that, right? So, you know, I found like little jobs here and there. Actually, I did work as a supervisor in the junior police cadet program that was offered every summer. And so when I did that, I kind of had an epiphany. I said, oh, school counseling. I want to be a counselor, you know, because I was mentoring the young kids, the youth, and, you know, we were in this adult daycare center and I'm just telling them what life is about. And it just felt good to help students, you know, not just with the academics, but help them with some life issues, you know, you know, and some of them were coming from some unfortunate circumstances. So I was able to work with them. And I said, this feels like home. I want to be a therapist, a guidance counselor, help them out. So, you know, about, I guess this was what, 2000, maybe 2001. So 2002, I started my master's in counseling. And I worked full time. You know, I preface this by saying I've pretty much worked full time all throughout all my degrees. Never really have taken any breaks, you know, because I realized that I got to pay my bills. But at the same time, I do love to learn. So it took me 4 years to get my first master's degree, you know, because of that reason. And it wasn't always easy. You know, I remember the first time I got a C in a class. And of course, if you get a C, that's considered failure, right? And I just said, you know what, whatever, you know. So if you get 2 C's, then they do have a right to dismiss you. And I got a second C. So I never forget, I was crying, I was upset. I was like, oh, you know, by this time I was like in my second or third year, I guess. And so I just said, I can't quit, you know. So right off the bat, I wrote a letter to, you know, the office and explained, justified what was going on in my life, you know, told them I do work full time. And there was some hardship personally for me at that time. And so they said, well, repeat this course and then we won't kick you out. So I was like, okay, great. So I repeated the course. I did well, same professor, went from a C to an A, you know, second time around, had a talk with her. And then I was able to graduate. And then after that, I said, okay, well, I'm set. You know, once I get my license to practice as a counselor, I don't want to do nothing else, right? Well, then here comes my now husband, Daryl. I met him online. Same year I graduated with my master's degree. And I'll never forget the first time he came to Michigan to visit me. This was like a couple months after we'd been talking on the phone. He said, well, you know what? He said, I want to come and check out your program, the not DO, it was the PhD MD program at the University of Michigan. So I was like, okay, cool. You know, I said, come on down. I'd love for you to meet my parents because they were both alive at the time. I said, okay, you know, I'll make sure that you have a good time when you come to Detroit. So he came and, you know, met my mom and dad. We had dinner and stuff. And he started talking to my dad. And they're like, oh, I can see her going for that doctorate. She's going to have her PhD. I said, well, no, I'm not. I said, I'm done. I'm done, son. I don't want to go back to school.
Right.
And so they have all these big plans for me. And I didn't see that, you know, to start, I've always been an introverted person. Always been pretty self-conscious with low self-esteem, to be honest with you. Don't know where it comes from because I wasn't raised that way. My mom and dad didn't raise me like that, but yet I lacked the confidence. And so, you know, you just go, you know, you don't know what it is about life. You don't know what it is about your resilience, other than the fact that you just push forward. No matter how you feel, you just do what you got to do to get to where you want to be. So unfortunately, that year, about a couple months after my parents met Daryl, my dad died. He died in November of 2006, and my world was shattered. You know, it was like, whoa, you know, I wasn't expecting this. I understand we all are gonna die, you know, but in my 28-year-old mind, I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, so some people do know this, some don't. You know, my dad lived with HIV for almost 20 years. It was about 20 years of him being HIV positive. He unapologetically disclosed that he was a gay man. He spoke out about these things, and I embraced that. You know, the way my parents raised me, there were no divisions. You know, my mom never talked bad about my father. You know, they were very open and candid about their situation and why they divorced when I was young. And, you know, we had these candid conversations when it was age appropriate, of course. They didn't tell me anything when I was little, but, you know, as I got older, like I first learned about my dad being HIV positive when I was still at Osborne, actually. He gave us a HIV 101 in a condom demonstration with a banana. He lined me and my cousins up on the couch and explained to us what HIV was and all these things. And I think this was like 95, I was 17. So back in 95 is when he did it. And so after he gave us this quick little demonstration and presentation of, you know, HIV and STDs and stuff, he said, you know, at the heart of the reason why people, you know, sometimes contract these viruses is because of low self-esteem. And he said, I had low self-esteem, you know, as a young person trying to self-identify and figure out who I was. And he said, unfortunately, I wasn't always careful. And then that's when he disclosed he was living with HIV. So this was 95. And so, like I say, by that time, it was like, oh my God, he's gonna die. You know, at 17, I was like, he's gonna die. And it took us a while to really have an open conversation about that, like literally like 2 years. I didn't want to talk about it because I was like, okay, I got to prepare to take care of this man, you know, because I know I'm going to lose him. Well, the medications were getting better and better. You know, he went from taking, you know, different types of antiretrovirals. Sometimes he would be on, sometimes he would be off because they had funky side effects. But what happened was he told me about AmeriCorps, which is like a domestic peace corps, and they were recruiting a team of folks from Detroit to do HIV education and prevention work. And so I said, sure, why not? So I applied. You know, this was when I was in college. I applied, and you know, since he had contacts, it was like a formality. Like they were like, okay, well, that's Derek's daughter. We're gonna take her. So that's what I did. I started out, you know, learning about HIV that way, not through my dad, even though he gave us the quick little demonstration, but I didn't ask any questions because I was like, you know, I just made it up in my mind I was going to lose him. And so once I learned that people were living with HIV, you know, even in the, you know, late 90s, early 2000s, that's when I wouldn't stop. You know, I started asking all kinds of questions. When I came back from my orientation, I started saying, Dad, you know, did you know this? And, you know, did you know that? And, you know, he's like, yeah, you know, we were talking about medications and things. And so anyway, we started doing presentations together because people needed to hear our story as a, what you might want to call a non-traditional family, Black family, who, welcomed and embraced an individual who had been pretty much, I don't want to say that the family didn't disown him, but there were a lot of people who were not comfortable with the fact that he was an openly gay man living with HIV, openly Black gay man living with HIV. But my mom and dad were all right. We were like, this is a story that people need to hear, because at the heart of who he is, he's a human being. And we should all treat people with respect and accordingly. And the fact that he wants to share the message of how not to, acquire it. I thought that was powerful. And to work with people who were living with it and try to find ways, particularly policies that would help support the needs that they have. Like I said, very admirable work. So I got on board and, we did a few presentations together. So me being obviously a straight woman who wasn't living with HIV, who truly embraced my father, was a powerful message, So all of this is going on while I'm going through college, and, like I say, when he died, it crushed my spirit in the worst way, as you can imagine. So I always talked about education. Like he always said, nobody can take your education away from you, sugar, is what he used to say. And I'd say, yeah, when you're a child, you don't really pay attention. Yeah, whatever. So when he died, I said, you know what? I said, in order to continue that legacy, I was always actively engaged in HIV related work, but that wasn't like my primary interest at the time. I was like, I need to see where I want to be, what it is that I want to discover, what I want to do. And so, I moved away from Michigan, left Detroit in 2007 and didn't look back. I moved to Arizona, still love Arizona, even though I don't live there right now, and made my life with Daryl. At the time, Daryl and I were very new in our relationship, and it was rocky. It wasn't always perfect, of course. Know somebody. One thing I still credit Daryl to this day is allowing me to think outside the box and not let nobody tell me how to live my life. And a lot of people would look on the outside, and say, who is this man? He seems to be controlling and dominant. And I'm like, you don't know our situation. Like, you have no idea. If he was that way, I wouldn't be with him. My parents raised me better than that. Right. But people look at me and say, oh, Ebony's so shy. She's so timid. She's so this. But I'm like, no. Believe you me, I love myself enough, to not put up with anybody's BS. And so we get out there and, I decided, I was in a job working for the county health department, and I was not happy. It was a low paying job. I took a huge pay cut when I left Michigan, and I said, this is not it. So I said, I'm going back to school. I said, maybe there's something else I'm meant to do. And so that's when I started school at Arizona State University. And it was a short program, just a 30 credit hour master's degree program in higher and post-secondary education. Basically learning higher education administration policies and practices, because I said, well, maybe I'm meant to be in this setting. Maybe I'm meant to be an administrator one day in a college or a university. So it felt right. So knocked it out. Like I said, worked full time. I was an academic advisor and I believe in a county job working as an advisor. And one of the things that I noticed, I started recognizing more and more that there were a lot of students, particularly students of color, who were misinformed or, not getting all of the details and information they needed and deserved as an undergrad, in pursuing the health professions, right? Some of these students wanted to be doctors, some wanted to be PAs, some wanted to be nurses, some wanted to be physical therapists. And we had just opened up a pre-health advising office on campus. And that was our job. Like, I worked in the School of Life Sciences, which was, it was students who were pursuing biological sciences, but they were doing that in the hopes of pursuing a health profession of some sort. So when they created this new school, they would tell us subordinates, send them over to this health professions office for that kind of advising. Well, like I said, because I'm a talker and I like to engage one-on-one with people, I'd say, what's really going on? not just planning courses. I want to know what's happening in your life. And then that's when it all would come out. Like they will open up the floodgates of, you know what? I was told that because of my GPA, I will not make it. Or I was told because I don't have the money or the resources, I'm not going to be a successful doctor or nurse. And so out of frustration, what Daryl and I did was we created a booklet. And, I give Daryl more of the credit because he just typed it up in like a matter of a couple hours and said, here, you start sending this to the students. And it was just a layout of what is anticipated or expected if you choose to go down one of the health professions paths, right? So word got around, my supervisor got a hold of the book and he's like, oh, where did you get this from? I said, well, and he knew Daryl because Daryl was a student there. I said, Daryl and I created this because the students are frustrated that they're not getting the information and resources that they need to move on in their career paths. I said, it's mainly Black and Brown students who are being told this information. And I see a pattern and I'm not happy with that. And so, of course, what happened was the booklet made its way over to the health professions office. And it was on their website when they created one. Daryl and I didn't get the credit for that, which I understand when you're in higher education, it's intellectual property, so to speak, and we didn't have the good sense to copyright it. But, if it helped any student, then we did our job, right?
Right.
And we don't do this for recognition. But that's when I kind of started feeling like my life, my career probably belongs in helping students. And I love students. Now, teaching was never anything that I truly was interested in at all, even though I knew education was again stability. But I got my feet wet with teaching because they had like these ASU 101 classes to introduce freshmen to the campus. And that really opened up my eyes and mind to the fact that I love teaching now. Because again, I get to impart not just what's in the books, but I get to tell them about life experience and tell them about what Daryl has gone through, which he's finally getting there. He's so close now to reaching his career goals. But I saw him struggling, trying to get the shadowing experience, trying to get clinical shadowing, clinical hours, trying to get research under your belt and all these things, right? And so I would share these things and it just seemed to be a good fit for me. So I can remember I started getting the bug to go for my PhD around that time. And I did apply, I applied at a couple of schools. One was the University of Toledo and the one was Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. So I got accepted to both, but I decided to go to the school in Carbondale, Illinois, because at the time they paid more of a stipend. So they were going to pay me to go to school. And I was like, wow, I've never heard of that before. This is awesome. So there, sight unseen. And don't get me wrong, I made some good friends that I'm still friends with today, but it was too rural for my taste, And I mean, it was so rural. I remember I banked with Chase. I was like, damn, they ain't got no Chase Bank here. What's going on here? It was just one of those things where I didn't feel comfortable being there for 4 years. So I quit my first PhD program after a year because it just wasn't a good fit for me. Add to the fact that there was a professor of mine who, in my own opinion, like, she's not here to defend herself, but there were a lot of microaggressions that I experienced. It was like a hazing process, if it makes sense. It didn't feel good. I was a straight A student, and in her class, she gave me a C. So I kept thinking to myself, I don't care about the grade. Like, as long as I can get what I need out of this program, I'm okay. Don't kick me out. But it was just a weird, eerie feeling that I got with this said professor. And I know it can happen. And I said, if I have to sit in another one of her classes, I don't know what I'd do. So I just decided that that combined with living in that environment wasn't a good fit for my needs. So what did I do? Moved back to Arizona, took a job, with Arizona State again. And this time I was a program manager. So I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor starting to pay off a little bit. And it was a low paying job though, it was title only, just to say I was a manager. But it did teach me a lot as far as how to run a program, the ins and outs of curriculum planning, all those things. So it was like these stackable things that occurred in my life. And so in the back of my head, I kept saying, well, Dad would want me to go for that doctorate. One day I got to do it. And in the meantime, I wanted to keep learning. So then I went for the Master of Social Work because my dad he was a social worker before he became a educated social worker, if it makes sense, working for the state. And so I wanted to do that to just, in some way connect with my father since he had passed on. I said, okay, I'll pick up this Master of Social Work. Who knows? Maybe I will go into private practice one day. We shall see. I don't know. And so once I knocked that out, like I say, you use the skills that you gain, but yet I still felt like I needed to do more. And so, I remember one point in time, Camila, I was working 3 jobs and taking classes. I had 3 jobs. Now, 2 of them were part-time because I remember that program manager job lost a lot of funding. So they put me on a part-time schedule. So I did that. And I worked in a foster care place, which was actually an internship, but it was a paid internship. So that was my second job. And I was serving as part-time faculty for an online degree program. So I was holding down 3 jobs and taking like 16, 17 credits. That's how dedicated that I, at the time I was to making sure that I accomplished goals and not let my father down. And so, got through it. And then, like I say, I just said, I still feel hungry for more. Like, I don't feel like I'm not making the money that I want. I'm not really in the career that I like. So let me see if I can truly get through a doctoral program. And so that's what I did. I finished that doctorate a couple of years ago, and it really has, paved the way for me to have options in ways I never thought I'd have. Make more money than I've ever thought I'd ever make in life, and it's not about money, but it's just the fact that you want to feel like this pays off. Yes, I have loans. Yes, I paid my loans. But the point of the matter is I'm doing exactly what I want to do at this moment. And I get a chance to teach and mentor, pre-meds, pre-health students, anybody who want to go to college, and also work with those who are in school, helping them prepare for residency and all those things. So I feel like this is a good sweet spot for me at the moment. And then tack on research. So, I'm considered a researcher. Daryl and I have mentors, tried and true mentors, women of color who have guided us over the last, year or so, and what it's like to be a researcher. And we've been able to publish a couple manuscripts tied to COVID-19, particularly as it relates to essential workers and depression. We also got a chance to write a chapter in a textbook that was disseminated internationally that talks about how you conduct research in light of COVID-19, meaning that we've never met face-to-face. We did all the stuff virtually, like how you and I are meeting, and we have disseminated our surveys. You may have seen them posted on Facebook and whatnot, have had great response rates as a result of that. And it's really like helping us solidify our careers in higher education. So those are the things I've done. I know it's kind of like all over the place, but that's what you got today.
But when you see certain people, and over the time of social media, you see a lot of things come through your timeline. I've reached out to a lot of people, not just celebrities, not just the regular 9 to 5. It's any and everybody, because I believe that everybody has a story to tell. Mm-hmm. I knew sometimes, as they say, the real when you see the real, and a smart person when you see one. Going back to Osborne, I knew, not even talking to you, that you are very intelligent. I didn't know any of this until you just told me. As far as all the schooling, your dad, I didn't know none of that. And so here it is again, an awesome, powerful testimony to the light that just the fact that you knew somebody who was full blown HIV positive, and was in a gay lifestyle, and was a male, Black, and so happened to be your dad. Sometimes, as we say, God puts you in situations, and those situations become your testimony, but it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's for other people that's going to be dealing with the same situation that you have faced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Had no idea until today that you've gone through these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, she's in a place that I probably would have never went to, Arizona, never. In my ignorance, I'd be like, Black people live in Arizona?
At the time, there wasn't too many. 2007? Hell no. They were all on the south side.
Yeah, so I would have never thought that. I was like, oh, that's not that. Oh, okay, that's a nice place. And then, I saw when you got married, and he just graduated, right?
Yep, Dale just graduated with his PhD in nursing and healthcare innovation. Again, it takes him to explain what he's been through in his life course and life path, and still going through it. But he's 49, so he's got a little bit more age on me. He's 7 years older than me, which is no big deal, obviously. But the fact that I have got the chance to see him grow from his circumstances has been completely phenomenal. And I mean, it takes him to tell his story. If you like, I'd be more than happy to introduce you to him, because
Absolutely.
he loved to share a story of what life was like for him, and why he's still pursuing his goals, at 49. But yes, Daryl and I, like I said, we together, we laugh about it, but, and get people like, what the heck? We have 10 academic degrees combined. We do.
Wow.
And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And it's all intentional, meaning that, for I wanted to have flexibility in a career, of my choosing. So that's why I did what I did. And I wanted to continue to learn and grow and figure it out. And for Dale, his was very intentional in the sense that he knew he always wanted to pursue medicine and be a doctor. So yeah, he just finished the PhD, just started medical school here in San Antonio, Texas. Is where we live now. And he found his fit so far. Seems to be a welcoming place, irrespective of age and, his race and stature and things, because he's a big guy. And we just have to see how life will take us, where it will take us next. But, I have high hopes. And it's not just because he, people think me personally, I'm not caught up on anybody's job or profession. Like, I could give a rat's behind about what you want to do. But what I love to see in him and anybody is them pursuing a goal of their whatever dream they have, of their choosing. And for him, when I met Daryl back in 2006, he made it clear. He said, look, Eboni, I'm telling you now, I'm broke. He said, if you're looking for a man with money, I'm not the one. He said, I am an undergrad who is trying to pursue a path of becoming a physician. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I said, I make my own money. I don't need your money, but what I at the time needed was somebody who could help me through my grief and loss. Like I say, all things, like you say, they're not coincidence. I met him the year Dad died. Daryl's a very spiritual person, so he brought me out of some really dark, scary places right after Dad passed away. I didn't care about my life. And I kid you not, there would be times I'll be on the highway driving home from work. And I'll say, if I crash and die, if I veer off this road, I don't give a care, because who cares about me? My daddy's no longer here. And my mom was still around, but she was in Detroit still. And I had moved on to Phoenix. So I was like, nobody's here to stop me, And Daryl said, no, you're not going to think like that. He said, how do you think that would make your father and your mother feel? You would disappoint them if you took your life, Eboni. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right. They raised me better than that. And so he has gotten me through some really tough times, especially when my mother died. There wasn't, I thank God for the people who have prayed for me. And I understand there are several of our classmates from Osborne who've lost both parents or someone close to them. And, how do I say this? It's like I have watched them through social media, of course. I don't really have phone conversations with people,
Mhm.
but I get to see how they're living, and I get to see how they're resilient and continually pushing forward. And so with that, it's like, okay, as tough as it can be, I can do this. I can get through this. Um, you know, just never lose sight, of the people who raised you and taught you the lessons you needed to learn in life so that you could be successful or just generally be okay. And it really does help to have a partner who understands those things. He doesn't know what it's like to lose parents. He still has his mom and dad, thank God. But the dynamics he has with his mom are very different, than the one I have mine. My mom was my best friend. So, like I say, it really does make a difference when you have people who can truly pour into you when you are completely depleted and you're empty. You don't feel like there's nobody else. And so that I do thank him for. And no, he's not the only one, but he's the one I see every day
Yeah.
for the most part. And that's something that I feel like together we can accomplish a lot.
With 10, come on now, with the accolades between the both of y'all. If you can't make it off of that, I don't know what in the world. Jeez. I'm like, can I get one? Just one. Come on now.
Girl, please.
So I'm just excited to see a powerful Black married couple, for one, that can write their own ticket if they want to. They can do and accomplish whatever. This should be on an Ebony magazine, Essence, whoever, because it needs to be told, especially with how everything is so microwave and right now and all of this stuff. It took some time to get here, but when you get there, it was well worth everything that you went through.
Yeah.
And you said something very powerful to me that strikes me all the time, is even in our weakest moment, in our lowest point, God will always bring somebody to you to get you out of Lodabar, as we say, hell.
Yep.
And even in those moments when you just want to give up, I've lost one parent, and it was like, even though my dad was sick, it was just like, you're never prepared. I don't care.
Never.
Never. And so when you get the call and you got to prepare for the funeral and all these things, I was separated from my husband in the same house, and nobody knew. And so I'm mentally dealing with that situation on top of my father passing away. And I was like, I never forget, my ex bought me a dog to comfort me. So for a moment, I slept with this dog every day with my bed, like holding on to it.
Yes.
Until it got to the point where it turned. And I got rid of the dog because I'm like, I don't need you no more.
Right.
And so I began to build myself up again to the point where, okay, enough is enough. I'm done with this season and I got to go forward. So eventually, when my divorce went through, and my now husband, who was my childhood crush, used to be my neighbor, God brought him back in my life. And I was like, so during this tragic, God brought a rainbow to remind me that I'm still here. I still got promises for you. You still got major stuff to do.
That's right.
And I'm like, now love somebody to love you even during your bad time. If I'm this good to you in your bad time, just imagine what I'll do for you in your good time.
That's right.
And somebody to push you to some places you didn't even never know that was in you.
That you never knew.
A doctorate to you and pushed you to do more. You would have just been okay and just right there.
Right.
No, the person that's for us will push us to that whole nother level that we didn't even know was in us.
Didn't even know. Mm-mm.
And now you sitting on the mountaintop, like I can write, I can do whatever I want to. And I'm here still doing the whole thing of helping someone. This is why I'm here. Is in a platform to help somebody. College was not easy. I love college. I went to college on the basis of not just because my mom went, but I want to relive school days or different world or something like that. I wanted to go because I seen this as growing up as a teenager.
That's right.
I wanted to go. And so I didn't have a chance to go to an all Black school. When I applied for Spelman, oh, we want you, but it's so many girls that want to come here that we don't have enough room.
Wow. I never knew that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so here we had Michigan State and I had Michigan. And I was like, neither one of them was really giving me a whole bunch of money. I said, but at the same time, I like Michigan, so I'm gonna go to Ann Arbor. I'm gonna do this. I did 2 years, and I'm like, I can't afford it no more, so I had to go home.
Yeah.
And so, but what I enjoyed the most about school, again, sometimes in those universities, you don't see yourself. You don't see, and the ones they would say, well, you're all basically the status quo to make sure the ratio of Black and all of this goes to the school and
quotas.
I loved it there, but like I said, I couldn't afford it, so I had to come home.
Right.
And those moments where you wanted somebody to push you. If I had an academic advisor or someone to be like, okay, we can find ways to, get you there, or some other programs, I didn't have that.
Nope.
So it was like, okay, I'm gonna go home and start over. And then life happened with my parents. So I had to decide to take care of my parents instead of school. So I never got a chance to go back. I chose to take care of my parents who were sick at the exact same time.
Wow, that's a lot.
Very much so. And so when life begins to happen, you have to make choices that's comfortable for you. You have to make choices for the peace of mind and all of these different things. And so I commend you for going forward in the first place. I commend you for taking the journey with your father. I commend you for taking the journey with your mom, with your husband, the things that you're doing in the places, the students that you're touching, even the faculty that was around you. They might not ever say, thank you, Eboni, but when you are a game changer, you can't help but to change the game for everybody around you. And so some of the stories I never heard from you because we don't talk. I just see you on social media and I'd be like, I need to talk to her. And so today, your story has definitely enlightened me to a whole nother level that hopefully the ones that are watching, the ones who are sharing and liking the story, this one right here could have stopped along 3 or 2 degrees ago.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, I had my first suicidal ideation at 11, honestly. And there were reasons behind that. There was abuse, not from my parents, obviously, but there were some things. And again, my story is no different than a lot of us. We've all have had someone who was not nice to us as children. And unfortunately, I was one of those people. I fit that statistic. So life could have stopped for me then. It really could have, no lie. Again, thank you for having the parents that you and me both had, because those were the reasons why I never actually made the attempt. But the ideation, yes. Like I say, resilience is one of those things that's really tough to define. which is why I do resilience research, because it's like, what is it that inspires you to keep moving forward when you don't have to, you know? And everybody has a story. Like you say, your story is very compelling. It resonates in so many ways of having to take care of a sick parent, you know, not knowing how you're going to pay for school sometimes. Like I say, I took out lots of loans because I might have applied to like 1 or 2 scholarships. And it's hard work to do that. You really have to like dedicate time, like it's a full-time job to continually write these essays and try to get funding and things. And again, without the lack of resources or lack of mentors growing up, you don't know where to look for that stuff. We didn't have the internet like we do now. That stuff didn't really start until I was in college.
We would have stayed in the library, copying this,
yep.
and doing it. Now the kids, do they even know what a library is?
That's the question, because like you said, that's all we had, But no, it really is good to connect with you. And then when you tell the story about you having a dog during the time when you needed your dog, my cat was the same way. I know you saw me post about Sudan, and I'll never forget, I was having a bad time. It was around my 30th birthday. And Daryl said, come on. He said, let's get in the car. I said, where are we going? He said, we're going to pick out some cats. I was like, we're not supposed to have cats in this apartment. He was, I don't give a shit. That's what he said. He said, we're going to get these cats. So he picked the cat and I picked the cat. And fortunately, my cat stuck with us for 14 years, and he did. He brought out so much, as far as like the laughter, the joy, feeling responsible for someone, without, and I give all the flowers to parents, because I know parenting is hard. You hear it? I know a lot of people who are parents, and I understand how challenging it can be. And people are like, Eboni, what you're waiting for? Because I never feel like I'm ready. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if you ever feel ready. Right. I don't think so. I don't know. But I understand I'm not getting any younger. So if I'm going to do this, I should say if we're going to do this, then we need to hurry up. But at the same time, I know it's a huge, huge responsibility. And so, maybe people say you can't compare a pet to a child. No, but for me, that was huge.
It's similar.
Keeping it clean, feeding it.
Yes. Yes.
Giving it love and nurturing it. And so, but he did that for me and Daryl as well. So I get that.
I know definitely I'm gonna have to get with you to eventually set up a time to go forth with your husband.
Please do.
And we'll do that. If not this month, definitely in September.
Okay.
So we can get that on the schedule. We have so much. Oh my gosh. If I could tell you all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, you'll see soon. That's all I'm gonna tell you. You'll see soon. But again, thank you for coming. Exactly. Thank you for coming on to take the time out to tell your story. And this is probably of course, the tip of the iceberg. We didn't even scratch the surface of some of the underlying things. But again, the part that you did share, I know the world needs to hear. Again, thank you for taking it and shedding the light on something I didn't even know nothing about. And then we'll go maybe the next time, either we could do a couple thing.
Okay.
Where you go back and forth.
Okay.
And then I might still bring you on again to do the education on HIV.
Absolutely. That is anytime. You tell me and I'll be ready.
I got you. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye, dear.